One more time, welcome to WP Folks channel. Today we are going to talk about Composer, a topic which is extremely important to know for each PHP developer, because without Composer, many and most of heavyweight projects won't be even existing. Because what Composer does actually for us right now is inside this GIF image, which is constantly changing. You see on the top is a Composer, and from it goes variable lines of different dependencies that we have in our application. Dependency can be everything, like if you use Symfony, you import libraries, you then import some external libraries for Symfony. You do the same with almost everything that you are doing. And sometimes we are having problems. Let's say in our index.php, for example, file, which is pretty much empty for the beginning of our lesson. If we create an application, what we usually do, we have a ton of, as I told, dependencies, and some of them update regularly and some of them don't. And as soon as one depends on the other for your application to run, when one of them is outdated and you try to update your application stops running. Because if your code has some PHP 5 functions, and then you import something for PHP 7, which needs actually, for example, PHP 8 some new functions to run, then you get errors because that functions does not exist in PHP 7, and the same for the application you had in PHP 5. And this is one of the example which I thought might be understandable for you. So to control all this, we have Composer. What Composer does, it just takes actually methods into its control, and it controls all the versions of all your applications. Literally everything has versions. Even if you go to Microsoft Word, sometimes you would see when installations of your applications, like it wouldn't even work. Some of the applications wouldn't install because you have, for example, a lower version of some driver, and you are getting errors, your applications are not working, or some functionality. This problem is solved by Composer. So I think, and this diagram shows you how everything is controlled by single Composer. So for example, if you try to update totally everything to new versions, and Composer detects that updating certain library will lead your application to crash, it's not gonna update that library. So this is, I think, enough of me talking. Right now we can start working with Composer. If you don't have it, right now we are gonna go to our Chrome browser, and I'm gonna go to Get Composer website. I forgot how it's ending, so it's here, Composer. You download it and install it. You just hit download, install. I hope you are done. If no, just pause video, and after seconds when I start speaking, I would assume that you have already Composer installed on your computer. So I hope you are done with it. After Composer is installed, whether you go to your PowerShell or Windows CMD, sorry, I opened a wrong application. Just a second for me to open the correct one. Here it's Windows PowerShell. Let's wait until it runs. And right now, if I type here Composer, see what it runs. Just let's wait a couple of seconds. Probably some problems with my terminal, so let's run the command prompt. I think, yeah, it works now. Okay, you see here this Composer, nice logo. It's not usually this slow. I think I have some other applications running. That's why for me it took a couple of seconds. So you see this composer, and below it you can see all the necessary functions which you would need, everything you would need to do, like show, and you can check this out. You have full information right in here. So a composer is installed, but as a friendly notice, you might have problems. For me, I fixed it already. For example, when you wanna access your composer from your VS Code terminal or any other IDE you might be using, I personally like VS Code too much. I'm not gonna change it for any other IDE. When I was running Composer, I was having problems, and because right now all this is fixed, right now I can access Composer inside my VS Code. And how it's gonna be solved for you, I am gonna open my setting and you can follow me to fix that. So let's open our setting if you can't access it from your IDE or VS Code, whatever you use, because I think VS Code is not called IDE. And from here we need to find advanced system setting. So view advanced system setting, for me it's Windows 11, but for all the Windows models, Windows systems, they all have this advanced Windows system settings tab. So you just need to find in your older version if you don't have it. And we click here environment variables. And what we need to do, we need to add the path of our environmental variable of php.exe, so as VS Code can access it, so and by using it a composer can run. For me, when I open this, you see I have it added, and this is how you can find it. For me, it was personally inside my ampps folder, which is my hosting application which I am using, and it's, if I'm not mistaken, it was here ampps, or I may be wrong. Let me check it one more time. Just a second. Yeah, it shows. Let's open our path one more time. It's ampps php 7.4. Yeah, so let's me open one more time. It's here. So you just give a path where your php.exe file is located. So for me, it was the path I have done here. You click then OK, and then one more OK, and you are done with the installation of Composer. Right after the installation, we can start using it. And the first command which I urge you to do with me is calling Composer. Yeah, why it was like this? Yeah, maybe because I made it bigger and smaller. So Composer init. Let's click it, and we see the application running. And I don't want to give any details. I'm just gonna hit enter, 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 and enter. And that's it. So everything is done, our Composer is installed, and you can see that we have this src folder, which still does not have anything. It is gonna have when we install and get some libraries using Composer, and we have this vendor, and this vendor folder has only Composer inside it, and this autoloaded PHP, about which we are gonna talk in this video. And we have also this Composer JSON file, which has all the information about our file and our dependencies. So as soon as I have all the details confirmed and we understood how to install a Composer, right now we are going to jump to the process of usage of Composer. And let's start by installing an external library. For this, I'm gonna open my terminal by clicking New Terminal. Yeah, it's open, and I'm gonna open my browser, going to this GitHub page to library called Zeninoto Faker. So what Faker does, it generates some fake identities, and if we scroll down a bit, we are going to see that it also has the command for the composer. So let's copy this line, open our VS Code, and paste it. And after hitting enter, let's follow the process. I'm gonna make this screen a bit bigger, and let's see. It gets all the information. Let's wait a bit more. So here it starts the installation and the extrication of archive, and in a couple of seconds everything is done. Now we see all this line, and let's pass through by each of them. First of all, it got information about the repository from packages.org. We will talk about it a couple of minutes later. Then it states stand with Ukraine, a nice call in current situation for this country. And then here it tells about the version, which is 1.9. It has updated our composer.json file, then ran the composer by loading everything that it's needed, and then package was installed. Then it was checked that are no vulnerabilities, and autoload files were generated. So we are gonna understand this a bit deeper in a couple of minutes. So, but it also has a warning to us that it is abandoned project, which means it does not get updates. So at certain point it says that you may have problems because of using this external library. So I'm gonna close this terminal. I don't need this for this moment. And right now, if we go to composer.json, we see that in require we have a field. So it requires for us this faker. But by the matter of fact, it's not just only was automatically added to composer.json, but we can add our own dependencies too. For example, I want to add dependency for PHP. So the process is done in this way, and what I want to have is PHP version for any application that is being installed bigger or equal than 7.4. So whatever I get after this, if it does not support this version, then it won't be, Composer won't install it. So this is how we can add our own dependencies. And right now, if I go to here, we go to packages. This is the website where you get all everything Composer has. So in our case, it's this faker, and we will be able to see that it's available also here. So so you can also add your own code here too, which you can call always using Composer. And for this, you just need to create an account if you are not signed up yet, and that is it. You can later on put Composer and get your own library or your own code. So this is it, and again we get a warning that this is no longer maintained. So this is about packages. So this is the website which stands behind the Composer. Now let's talk about another point, which is autoloading. On the last lines of our terminal call, let's try to open our terminal one more time. I believe we did it here. Yeah. See, it says generating autoload files. From object-oriented programming, I hope you know what autoloading is. If no, just come back to my object-oriented programming lesson, which is in my channel. I speak about that. Or if you know, or you prefer starting from other resource, it's okay. Just you should know what autoloading is if you want to continue lesson from this moment. If I go to our index.php, I have written here some code for you. but I'm gonna clean it better and write it again. So traditionally, how we were doing autoloading, we were using SPL register autoload function. So let me correct myself. And this is what is being called when a class which we were trying to call was not existing. In the case of Composer, this problem is solved for us. So if we go to composer.json, we will see that in autoload we already have Composer, and everything inside src is gonna be called from a Composer as it's for an autoloading. And in our case, we install this faker application, and if we go to this faker, we see how we can use it. And now let's use this code and see what we get, and after which we will solve this problem of error we are gonna have. So now going and reloading our page, we see that everything is good. I think I'm in a wrong folder actually. Yeah, we need to be in Composer. So okay, I'm gonna right now, and you see that class faker factory not found. Let's understand where the problem comes from. Yeah, we have installed this library, but it's not loaded in this index.php. And as you have been doing in object-oriented programming with autoload SPL autoload register function, but for us, Composer tells that we can use this autoload.php file. It is gonna be open in a couple of minutes. Okay, so Composer does the job for us, and right now if you require this file, require once, it's gonna be in vendor, and from vendor we are gonna go to autoload.php. Now let's reload our index.php, and Mr. Zoe Hessel MD. So that's it, we were successful. So autoload of Composer solved the problem for us. But rather we could be having problems if we would have our own namespace. Let's create a namespace called namer.php, and pretty fast I'm gonna create a namespace for us. It's gonna be called namer, I believe. Name, yeah, let's correct myself. Namespace namer, and here I'm gonna have a class of namer just for us to test it, and give it a public property with a default value. Public name is gonna be Peter. This is it. And now, as we have seen for faker, like this autoloading solved the problems for us. Now let's see if it solves the problem for the namespace that we have created, and let's call it name and call it new namer. And right after it, try to echo the result of name. And I forgot to put echo in here. This is it. Right now trying to reload the page. Uncode error, class namer not found. So it comes out that Composer's autoload did not solve the problem for our own namespace, but it's all solvable, and because we can add our own namespaces in here. So right after this, let's call this namespace namer, and in here just give us a path where this namespace will be available, the default location. And this is it. And right now it's not gonna work yet because we need to install this. So let's have it namer and like this. And reloading the page, we still get an error. Let's see why we get this actually. because I think we should not have problems. Yeah, I forgot to tell you about the function composer dump autoload. What happens here? We added our own dependency, but composer did not update itself. So whatever we have written here, it's not active yet. For this, we need to do composer dump autoload. Hit enter. Now composer runs and see generated autoload files, interesting autoload files one more time. So right now our created namespace, which we added in here, is available too. And if you reload now, Peter comes in. That's it. That's really easy. So we added our own namespace, but before it would become accessible, we had to do composer dump autoload. And right now, instead of doing like this, we could also make this use function and call it namer. Let's remove this. This would be, I think, a bit easier syntax, although the one that looks for you, if you reload, it's gonna be the same result for us. So we were successfully able to install library, to add our own dependency like this, PHP, make composer read our own namespace, and we understood how autoloading works for composer, which makes the life so much easier. So let's follow the process one more time. I'm gonna go to Faker, to our Polkagist, and search for other library which is called var dumper. It's here, Symfony var dumper, and in a couple of seconds, yeah, here it's the command how to install it. Please note that I'm installing a single application and see what happens. Let's follow terminal together again. So that is it. And let's see what we got. Inside our composer.json, you see Symfony var dumper was added as a dependency. And then if we go to composer.log file, we would be able to see all the details of what our composer has. And these files, by the matter of fact, are very important. But the most important file here is composer.json. Composer.json holds the value of all the information of composer which is needed to restore and download, for example, our vendor, because this vendor where we have all this code is usually very heavy. So we usually put it into git ignore, and if I remove this to Russell bin, and I can even remove this composer.doc, although it's nice to have, it's not mandatory. We just need composer.json always to be with us. So right now, if I go to terminal and type here composer install, it's gonna install everything we need with the information that is inside our composer.json. So you see our vendor is back, it's installing, and what you can notice in here that we not just have this faker and var dumper, but composer also got everything we need also for var dumper to run. So var dumper needed Symfony polyfill and polyfill MB string to be able to run this var dumper. So they are coming too. So this is what is really nice about composer. It thinks for us and solves all the problems, so as we don't have to. And right now, in order to show you that everything is correct, let me have a use of a var dumper, although I forgot how actually var dumper is being used. Let's jump to GitHub of there and see how it works. It's here. Usually in the end of GitHub you have some short documentation. It's a better dump function. Okay, so it's dump function that we need to use. Right now let's go to our VS Code, and instead of echoing, let's dump our name and see what it looks like. So as you can also be able to see that our var dumper in use, yeah, it's a lot more understandable and more beautiful. So it's nice to have. And I believe that is it. And the last thing that I wanted to talk to you is about Composer update. Composer update is usually something that needs to be done, but needs to be done carefully. The command works like this, like any other command, Composer, and then what we want to do. What update does, it updates all the packages which we have to maximum higher level. But it also checks, for example, if one package would have a problem, if we during the update, it's not gonna do. But sometimes anyway you are having problems and errors because of update. That is why before you do it, you need to understand what you are doing, not just type a command. If you wanna, of course, if you don't have this with Composer update, you might get back this vendor and composer.log as well. But Composer install is a lot better solution, and update we run only when it's needed. So let's pass again what we studied together. We understood how to install Composer. We understood how to init Composer init command where we get this vendor. Then we understood how to get our own packages into our application. And we understood what autoloading is. And we also have seen together how to add our own namespaces and add our own dependencies. So this is it, the main part which you, I think, needed to know about Composer. So thanks for following with me, and continue watching my videos. I'm gonna put more interesting development videos, and I urge you to subscribe and comment, because this is something that encourages me to make more and more and do the videos with more quality and better. So thank you. See you in the next video.